Hi guys, it's Aegis here. So today I'm here with another extended deck profile, and this time I'll be covering Bruce again. So with new updates, so the deck is going better in a way, and I have tuned it from my previous build so that it will be different. Um, and my mindset is actually changed after quite a few weeks of playtest. That's why you only see it right now. Also, I also have some other decks that I still prefer to do a little bit more on playtesting before I roll them out. So you will see them very soon after I playtest while we are still waiting for the next set. I will make sure they are out. For example, I haven't done the Magnolia mask yet, which I think I need a little bit more time to actually look into it. We have some normal build, but I think I will prefer to do a little bit adjustments on myself to fit myself. But back to this deck, when first released, he's actually very interesting because you can just simply go into Final Rush, not even say your other level, just the normal Final Rush, you can still at least go there, right? And on your first Great Return, which changed a lot because with the old Bruce, you need to actually wait. But with the new one, you can just go in. But uh, even when you go into Final Rush, since you're not in Final Burst, you can do restanding on your regards. Um, but at least your regards, you can just feel more free to just play them out and let them cook, right? So I think it's a very good idea. But then if you are like looking into strength, which one is better for Bruce? I think I would still say the Grade 4 Bruce is probably still a better way to go. Uh, you do need to wait still, but then uh, the return is way bigger. And then because you have Final Rush during your main phase, which means you're open to a lot of orders supporting Bruce, no matter it's Soul Charging 4 or you just draw a card and play something and plus 10 to the front row. All these kind of supporting orders is actually making the whole Diabolos deck way stronger in power on average. But with this, because you're doing more simple multiple attacks, and while you activate your final rush or maybe final burst earlier, which means you can pump your power without personal right earlier and allowing you to do things faster. But at the same time, because you act fast, the game also ends very fast. No matter you win, you lose. So this is a mindset that I put in myself, that I need to play the game very quick, instead of like, oh Bruce, we wait for a turn, we try to survive, we save a lot of cards in hand so that we can survive a great return and then go in with final rush, going grade 3 person right, going grade 4, and then just push 1 to 2 times and finish the game. This one is different, right? So let's go into the right deck first. The full Diablos right deck. In order to restand 2 regards, you need to actually have all Diablos cards. So that is very important. So, well, there's nothing you can do with it, and you need to have all Diablos cards to get into Final Rush and Final Burst. So if you have anything that is not pure Diablos, you basically lose everything. So unless you change to another Vanguard, right? But hardly it is happening. Only like 1 to 2 chance you will do that, which I will show you in a bit. But even that, after I playtest, I mainly will still be on this Bruce for most of my time, so I need to make sure the deck is as pure as I can. So the right line is still going for this. You get to do a little bit soul charging, you get to do a little bit of drawing, and since you pull Steve out, Steve can be a actually you pull the mat out, not the Steve out, you pull the mat out. The mat can be a booster for your Regard or for your Vanguard to have you adjust the power for your Great One turn if you're going second, and that can sometimes push the damage through, which when you go into your brews, you can do a lot more stuff, right? So far I don't see any reason to change this red line, but if you do have some other thoughts, feel free to share, because I'm always looking into ways to improving the deck even more. Main deck, Primo Boost. Personal run is important because your Vanguard attack will always be the weakest one, so you do kind of need something to make it more scary, because if it's only a 13k or maybe 8k boost to be 21, it's still always lacking something, and your opponents can still simply drop a 10k guard for a 1 pass, and that's not something you would love to see. Yeah, that's why it's there, basically. And then 2 Julians. Now Julian is also a card that eats up counterblast, where you need to save at least 1 counterblast for your brews, except for the first turn when you're going first with brews, like first grave return, because you can only go into final rush, not final burst, so that other regards can activate, but your brews cannot. Then there you can find some spare counterblast to actually do stuff. But we don't actually have that much restanding opportunities, so like as in emptying space like before, so Julian may be a little bit too late sometimes, and in order to fully utilize Julian you need to take a little bit more damage, so I'm not using like a whole playset of it, only 2, just that when I need to do a little bit extra soul charge and I need to bring out a great one or something, then there he comes, and he can be useful. And just a fun element, which is a free spot for you, I use Drag Shield. Now it's part of like a anime card usage, I put it in there. It's not bad, but then once you go into Drag Shield, unless you have another boost, you will stuck in like losing the final rush. But then we always have the time that we are running out of gas, and Drag Shield is actually kind of like a little saver, at least for a turn, that you Soul Blast 4 with different grades, and then just turn your opponent's Vanguard into 1, and then do a little bit pushing, forcing them to do a little bit guards. Sometimes it's way better than not doing anything when you don't have counterblast for boost or any other regards to just be scary. But again, it's a free slot. So far, because the game went so fast that I don't get a chance to go into Drag Shield actually, so I would say this is a free spot that you can turn into another Julian if you want to. But it's up to you. If you like want to follow Danji in the anime, then you just chuck in for fun. We do have that kind of space, so I think it's okay. And then I'm running for the Jamil. So Jamil is a good defense and kind of like Julian, but he activates during the main phase to help you soul charge and pull a Diabolos unit out, which can be very helpful because you will do some little random soul charges with these 2, and or like even you want to put your Steve out, then you can just do it, right? So I think this card, you so far just can't take it out. Not only that it brings you a unit, brings you a soul charge, it's also plus 10k plus 5k shield when you're in final burst. And that little 5k shield sometimes just saves your life, because we don't have a lot of cards to guard with. Not that the shield value is low, but we are always low in hand size. So something with a higher shield value is actually very important, and because his power-ups are good, so he can be target for opponent's skill, for opponent's attack, and that sometimes just save you because your opponent's attack regards instead of Vanguard, right? Because they don't know what in your hand and they want to just clean up your intercepts because they can be annoying for like guard restrictions or anything like that. Then at least you dodge an attack. Sometimes again, it's just save your life. And then I'm running 4 of the Patricks because he is great in board wiping. When your opponents have a full board and you have a chance to clean out like 4 units at the same time in turn, that's really massive because some decks really relies on having a good board, and it's not that easy to rebuild, and you just take them away, that would be crazy. He's also a 20k attacker basically when you're in Final Burst, so the power is there. Basically just it, yeah. And sometimes even in Final Rush, I will still pull at least a unit out for my opponents to maybe drop a little bit more cards to guard so they can just call it a day, or as long as I can clean the unit out that can be annoying, then he fulfilled his job, so that's good enough. And then we have 4th Gino. So this is a new card from the set. He get 2 skills. One of them is front row Rigor Circle. When your Vanguard attacks, if you're in Final Burst, you can Soul Blast 2. And then for each 2 cards in your damage, then you can stand a Rigard in the same column. If you stand 2 for a turn, both of them will get plus 5k. So if you have 4 damage, you Soul Blast 2, you stand the whole column. And then your boost will stand another column, then you can do 5 attacks, right? That's very important. Even when you just restand himself, it's still another kind of 5 attacks, right? So it's still great. And then when your turn ends, if you in Final Rush, basically Final Burst is also Final Rush, you can put this card into your soul, and from your soul add a normal unit card, add to hand if you want. If you you can just put it in the soul, and then you can choose to put a card into your hand or not. If not, then you just increase the soul. But usually you will pick something back up, because sometimes you might soul charge a PG, then there's a way you can grab it back and that saves your life. It can be a personal right, so that you can just rely on using that personal right, and then the next turn call another Jamil and pull Gino back again, and then you can just repeat the stuff. That's a good strategy. Even though from a playtest I never draw into my boost, or maybe like 1 or 2 times in like 15-20 matches. I don't know why, it just didn't happen, but when it comes, it can be very handy, because you might just have that person right, and you will never see another boost, and the way that you can use Gino to pick it up and do the person right, that saves you. So it is a very good support, and instead of doing 4 attacks, you're doing 5 attacks. That's, to me, is already very impressive, right? But you probably will always attack with the column that Gino is on, because his attack, he didn't gain any kind of attacks, so you will need to use him to punch first, because he will always be the weakest, and then you use the other side, which will usually have a Jamil, Patrick, a Julian that will always get power-ups, and those columns will be scary. So do remember, make sure you look into what cards you are attacking. The sequence is very important. 2 of the Stefanie's. I'm still thinking, do I want to increase Stefanie's? But then she didn't increase shield value, so I'm also running Trish, which some people are actually running for the shield value, for the extra 5k plus. That is also something they can consider, which this free spot you can turn into another Trish. Stefanie is a card that I mainly put behind my Vanguard, because I'm not using Marble anymore, or Maple. I think it's Maple, because it is too much of a counterblast. It is a good card. It turns my Train Drive into Triple Drive, but then because my hand size is still very, very small, so the extra card isn't saving me, but the 5k defense is actually saving me sometimes. So I prefer to use Stefanie and let her to stay behind my Vanguard, so I can always have a 18k Vanguard, and even for other regards that they will just plus 10k during opponent's turn 2, and you plus another 5k, which brings to 25k is not that easy to kill. So Stefanie is very important. And then Trish, again, I explained, is kind of like Jamil, is the extra shield. That's why she is seeing more usage more than Stefanie, because it's a different way of protecting you. Trish is a tanky shield to protect everything, but then Stefanie is the extra 5k that allows you to do a little bit surviving. So different purpose, but they are both important in the deck. And the next, I tried it to use 3 of the Derricks. I don't put him behind my Vanguard circle. I put him behind my regards, and his skill is when you goes into final burst, this unit will get a skill, a permanent skill, that when this unit boosts during the battle, your opponents spend the guard from hand, they need to call 2 cards at least. If not, they can guard from hand. And then this will get plus 5k, and then during the turn ends, this unit needs to be retired. You can't choose to let it go or not, it needs to go. So do remember that you don't simply just play him down and expect him not to go away, because you just gain the skill and that will just gone. So be careful. But because he is gone during the end phase, that means when you restand him with Bruce, the skill is still there. It's not once per turn, it's just a permanent skill as long as he boosts. So that is really helpful, because even with a 5k front row card, with this is 18k, so your opponent cannot simply just use 1 card to intercept and dodge the hand guarding. They will need to give you something, right? And you're doing it 2 times. So if you are like able to manage a crit to your regards, then that can be scary. But of course, so far we don't have a card that can help you gain crit before you resend some stuff or before you do your drive checks. So the guard restriction is sometimes limited, but when in a very intense situation where every single 5k shield matters, he can just help you flip the table around. Because sometimes I just use him to win games. It's like I do an 18 and then I restand it because Bruce will plus 5k to both units, then it's 28k. Then just a 15k guard is also not enough. They need to give you more. And even if they want to use PG, they need to give you another card unless they use the place order PG. But you're doing it 2 times. So that's not how many times that they can actually dodge it. And if your both sides are him, and then with your Gino, and then with your Bruce, you're doing 4 attacks with 2 hand guard restrictions, and that can be very, very annoying. And that's why I'm using 3. But if you are like more preferred into using this, then cut one of these, cut all of these, probably turn it into 2 Trish, then you're fine. And then with PGs, I'm just using the normal booster PG, because I find the chance of just using 1 PG to guard is more often to happen because my hand size is so small. So I think that is still better than the Bliss or Shield, because you need to discard a card unless you see a triple drive Vanguard, which may not be that often right now, so I think that normal PG is way better. Triggers. Now I am using the Dark State Silver trigger here. It's providing you a lot more things continuously if you pull it off. But if you want to look into other OT options, I would choose the Blue Elemental one. Then you can pick something back up from drop, and then +1 crit to another card, which can be annoying because you would be restanding stuff, and you can pick up a piece that helps you survive or link into something that helps you to go aggro the next turn. So these 2 choices I think is fine. I don't think the Red Elemental one is going to help you too much. It can work, but then since our game goes very quick, so everything that plus crit is actually very helpful. But with this, you at least have a chance to make your opponents to do a little bit dodging, and then you plus 10k plus 1 crit, and suddenly you just go in and win. It's still a good strategy to go for. Of course, it's nothing you can prepare for. So this or the blue elemental PGs, which one you want, use them. Crits. 4 of the Diabolos crits, and then 3 more other crits. You can use Sewing crit if you want to, but I usually just keep those Reading Tissue as my guard, so to me it doesn't matter at all because I won't be playing any of the critical triggers to the board except this because it's a Diabolos. Yeah, so, and if you use the Sewing crit, because it's not Diabolos, during when you go into battle phase, you can go into Final Rush. So I don't see a reason that you actually play it down unless you really like have nothing to do and you don't need Final Rush, which you actually do. So with this deck, you don't actually need that. With the draws, actually you should be using 4 of the Diabolos draw, but in my hand I only have 3. But I will tell you that this, if I have the 4th one, I will just put it in to make sure I can just play them down and pair with my Derricks. So yeah, do be careful on that. I'm just lacking 1 card, but you should be using the Diabolos one. And for heal, I'm also using the Diabolos ones. So trying to keep as much Diabolos as possible. And I did try the front, but then it further decreased my hand size and I can't even do a lot of guardings, and I need to take a lot of attacks that I do not want to, and I usually lose that way. So I go into draws, which I think is still better, and I'm using a little bit more draws than a crit to kind of doing a good balance. At least that's what I think. Yeah, so that's basically the deck list, and the strategy is simple. No matter you go first or second, trying to do 2 attacks. If you go second with your grade 1, if you're going to grade 2, try to do 2 to 3 attacks if you can. Push the damage in early, and then when you go into Bruce, if you are going first, then you have probably a counterblast or 2 to spare. Then you can use your Jamil to start building up stuff, or use your Julian to do that, and then use your Patrick to just keep something out of the way. Save your Geno, that you might need to actually drop 1 or 2 Genos for using a ride deck, because he won't be that much useful until you go into Final Burst, I would say. So but do make sure you keep a Geno in your hand, that when you go into Final Burst, especially if you person riding, then that's your way you can go in for 5 attacks and just hopefully you can win. But do look carefully when you soul blasting with Geno. Don't soul blast the key stuff that you actually want to bounce back to your hand with Geno skill from soul. And if you are following this recipe, this deck, to use Drag Shield, then you also need to be careful on the cards you soul blast, so that you can kind of keeping a good grades in your soul. Then when you really need to go into Drag Shield, you have the enough cards to soul blast, right? Because if you have the counter blast, you will always stay on boost. You won't be going to Drag Shield and try to soul charge 2 and draw 1, right? Yeah, so I think that's basically it. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. Share with your friends. Like this video if you like this build. This kind of anime build, maybe. And subscribe for more deck profiles, deck fights, and boxing videos. And I will see you guys in the next video. Signing off.